the All Women's Sports Network. Let's start here. Thank you guys for joining us. Whose idea was this? Maybe just give me the origin story. Sort of why are you doing this?
It started about 16 years ago because I grew up with a brother who was a coach who played every sport imaginable. And because, I'm 100 years old, you just didn't women weren't playing those sports. And so it's always been an issue for me because I never understood why we didn't have women's baseball and women's football and women's basketball and everything else. You kind of heard about it in college if you went to college, but if you didn't, you were sort of out there. And I would go to people and say, what would happen if we did this? And everybody said, nobody wants to see women, especially don't want to see sports. I was like, but I'm a woman and I do want to see sports. So I have to imagine there's at least two or three more of me. And so for 16 years, I asked, and people patted me on the head and said, no, nobody wants to see it. And then I met George Chung, who said, you know what? That's a great idea. We could do women's karate. And he got it. And it was like, oh, and he was like, so I think we're going to do it. And I was like, okay, whatever you need me to do, I will do. Because, listen, there's not a sport on the planet that women don't play. They just aren't. And so I wanted to make it international because I wanted a wider audience, not just for American viewers, but for viewers around the world who may not know what we're doing here. So I wanted to mix it so it made sense to everyone. And because George runs Jungo, he has, he knew exactly what to do and where to go. I mean, a lot of people say to me, I don't know if this is going to work. And then 15 women come up and say, oh my God, we want to be part of this. What can we do? It's like, well, we can't do anything yet because we're not there yet, but we want, all of your documentaries. We want everything, whatever you've created for women in sports, we want, because we want to give you a platform. And I wanted to start at the high school level, regardless of where it is, because I want little girls to have what we used to call baseball cards for their favorite new players. And I want them to follow, just like I used to follow Mickey Mantle. I want young women to be able to do the same. So that's where it came from.
When Whoopi came to us, we got it right away because we saw that there was really an international appetite for women's sports. And in many countries, women's sports actually outperform over men's sports. In countries like Korea, women's golf outperforms men's golf or volleyball in many sports. So what we decided to do when we came together was to launch a channel that would really have a diversified palette of sports. So we have all the tentpole sports from soccer, basketball, volleyball, field hockey, but then we also have sports that may not be as popular in the United States, like cricket and judo and table tennis. And really we have, what we say is we fill multiple verticals to create this horizontal offering to have a very wide breadth. And so currently with the carriage, we're in nearly 1 billion homes already right at launch, and we're less than 3 weeks out.
Who's funding the company?
Great question. So it's a combination of two entities, our own company, Jungo TV, which is a privately owned company. And we were very fortunate to sign on a sponsor and partner that really got it right away, which is a company called Common Spirit. They're one of the largest healthcare companies in the world. They operate hospitals across the United States and healthcare sites. You might not know them as Common Spirit, but you might know them by their names like Dignity Health and Catholic Health, which they run across the United States. One of the most successful hospital groups in the world. They really got what we were trying to do because what they saw was not just a sports channel, but a channel that advocated for women's health and women's wellness. And they wanted to be part of that journey with us.
So Whoopi, you mentioned sort of the ongoing no's that you got from a women's sports perspective, but it seems to me that the culture has changed and changed fairly recently in terms of the energy behind women's sports. What do you think changed that?
The fact that women's teams were kicking everybody's behind, the soccer, the women's soccer was kicking butt. We started to see amazing basketball being played, and it wasn't being played like, oh, here's the women in basketball. It was like, we're on the court, we're kicking butt. And once people realize that you are getting the same, kind of edge of your seat, is my team going to win? Well, oh my God, what's happening? Once people realize that you didn't have to be a god to put people at the edge of their seats, I think more people said, hey, I want to watch more of that. What other sports are women playing that we don't know about? Like hockey. Hockey, man. Roller derby. I love roller derby. I want America to have a roller derby team that kicks butt. You name it, I want it out there because women are doing it.
George, you mentioned the platform will debut to more than 1 billion households right off the bat. In the US, though, it initially launches on Vizio Watch Free Plus. I'm going to be honest with you, I am a media reporter, and I had never even heard of Vizio Watch Free Plus before. So what is the business model in terms of increasing the distribution in this country?
So there will be multiple platforms that will be on in fourth and first quarter of 2025. And without mentioning them because some of them are still in their contract, but we'll be on most of the major platforms for both connected TV as well as free fast channel platforms. And really was just a matter of who was coming first. And one of the reasons why we're not on more platforms on day one, we didn't even let the platforms know about it because we ramped up so quickly. We want to say that we launched this with almost military-like secrecy. So Vizio was able to onboard us in about 3 weeks, which is just amazingly fast. And they currently have a household network of about 20 million television sets out there right now on connected TV. But within the next 3 to 4 months, we'll be on probably over 100 million devices in the United States across all the major platforms. So Vizio is the beginning, and there will be much, much more, and that we'll be announcing soon. But yes, that will not be the only one we'll be on in the US. As far as the sustainability, it's really driven by advertising. And one of the reasons that in the United States it is free is because Whoopi wanted accessibility. We didn't want to just put it behind a paywall on traditional cable. As you also know, the numbers as far as the demographics maybe didn't line up with the amount of viewers that could potentially watch us. So we wanted to be accessible to everyone, which is why connected TV, mobile, and web were really important. And so that's why we're really making this available to everyone. And we really received very few no's from the major platforms because they saw the quality of the programming behind it.
So Whoopi, are you looking at this as a business proposition, as an investment, or more of a passion project?
All of that. I like a good business proposition. I like the idea that, I want it to go way past my lifetime. I want it to be as well known as an ABC, NBC, CBS, LMNP, doesn't matter. Because we have something that we are specific about. Not just women's health, but who designs all the clothes? Who does this? Why are we talking about this? What's your mental health like? It's not just for women, but it's women centric. It's like some of the other sports networks are not necessarily, women centric. You'll see them, but we're dedicated to them. We're dedicated to them. So I don't know if that answered your question. I just liked hearing myself talk.
No, that was great. Thank you guys, Whoopi, George. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.